Hello and welcome to the 50 Shades of Gender podcast. We get curious about all things gender, sex, and sexuality, as well as relationships, feminism, the inclusive kind, mental health and kink, and all that makes us humans unique and diverse. From body positivity to body dysmorphia, it's all welcome here. Come with us on a journey of inclusion, acceptance, and respect. I'm your host, Esther Lemons. I identify as a cisgender woman, and my pronouns are she and her. In this episode, I have a conversation with CHARLIE ORRISS, who would love to be a mental health ambassador one day. CHARLIE's pronouns are he, him, and he identifies as an FTM, which is short for female to male, trans man. Find out what that means to CHARLIE in this episode. We also talk about labels as a protection as well as a hindrance, how gender and mental health go hand in hand, the therapeutic benefits of cosplay, and what dissociative identity disorder can be like. To clarify some terminology that is used in the episode, being on T means being on testosterone. Please be aware that there is mention of self-harm in this episode. It was recorded on the 23rd of March 2021. Now let's get into the episode. Hello and welcome.
Hi,
What's your name?
I am Charlie, and my pronouns are he, him.
And how do you identify, Charlie?
As a female to male trans man.
Okay, and what does that mean to you?
To me, it's just a bit of a protection.
Mm.
Like, I know a lot of people don't like labels, but I like having that label because then it makes me different to everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like I said, it's just a bit of a protection for me in ways.
Right.
In other ways, it's a bit of a hindrance.
Those are interesting choices of words, actually. Wow. Yeah, wait, can you say a bit more about the protection?
So for me, if I go to like a gay bar or anything like that, it's a protection. So they know that if I go to use a male toilet, they know that I'm trans and it's okay for me to use a male's toilet. But if I'm out in public, I don't feel comfortable with using a male's toilet.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
that's why it's
Yeah.
protection, but then it's a hindrance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, how has this shown up for you? Let me think about how to phrase it.
You might have to dumb stuff down with me because I'm not that smart.
Oh, bless you. So, have you always felt like a man?
Yeah, for as long as I can remember. I
Mm.
started knowing I was different when I was about 8.
Okay.
Um,
How?
how did I know I was different?
Yeah, like how did that show up for you? What was that like?
I would always try and pick male roles in games. Like, you know, when you play games when you're a child, and like, I
Mm-hmm.
would always pick a male role.
Uh-huh.
And I've always had the fascination with the name Charlie. So that's how my name came about.
Okay.
So I'd always be like, nope, my name's Charlie. I'm playing as Charlie. That's it. And I fancied a teacher when I was 8. So I knew I definitely wasn't straight.
Mm-hmm.
Because she was female. So back then I was female. I knew then I definitely was not straight. Didn't
Mm-hmm.
quite know about being trans until I was a lot older,
Right.
because never knew anything about being transgendered or anything like that until I was actually in my 20s. Like a long
Mm-hmm.
time without knowing what transgender was.
Mm-hmm.
I came out when I was 11 to a couple of people, and I actually got really badly bullied for coming out.
Mm.
I had my ribs broken, I had things chucked to me. Yeah, it was quite a horrific time.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
But then when I was 21, I just came out and was like, look, I can't do this anymore. I
Mm-hmm.
am who I am, and I'm trans.
Yeah. Wow. You know what? What just stood out for me as well is that you said you didn't come across was it the term trans
Yeah.
or the concept of being trans until you're in your 20s. And then you also said you came out when you were 11 for the first time to a few people. So what was that like? What was that coming out like
So
before you really knew the language of it?
basically, I said to a couple of close friends that I'm wrong. I should not be female on the outside. I should be a male because
Mm-hmm.
I'm male on the inside. Like, things
Mm-hmm.
aren't matching up.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I never knew the term transgender until, like I said, I was a lot older.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
they just took it. I was like, "Oh, okay, so you're a boy."
Yeah, so they were quite accepting
Yeah,
and open
until
to it.
the popular kids found out, and like I said, I got bullied for that. As most
Yeah.
LGBT plus people end up getting bullied for being who they are.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, totally. So when you came across the term trans or transgender,
Yeah.
what happened?
I knew instantly that's what it was. That was,
Yeah.
a, like I said, again, protection. I knew who I was then. I had my
Mhm.
identity, and I was like, right, this is definitely what I am.
Mhm.
And it was so much easier to explain to people then.
I'll bet, yeah. Wow, that's amazing. And when you discovered the term trans and when you realized that all really clicked for you, is that when you started your journey, your transition journey as such?
Yeah, that's when I started changing my name and living as Charlie, and then
Mhm.
eventually going to my doctors and being like, "Look, I can't live like this anymore. Can you refer me to Tavistock?" Because I
Mhm.
then started doing all my research about everything,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then yeah, so that's where it all mainly began. And then Charlie was born.
Yay. So how long ago is that now? And how has that been for you, that part of your journey?
It's been 6 years, and it's been a bit of a roller coaster. There's been happy times, there's been sad times. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, but the happiest time recently is I've now been on T for like 5 months,
Mhm.
so that's a good thing for me. Like that's yeah,
Does it feel like, because I've heard a lot of trans people say when they're on hormones, it's like putting the right fuel in the car.
it does.
Did it feel like that for you? Has it been like that for you?
Yeah, when changes started happening, that's when I was like,
Mhm.
okay, this is how it's supposed to be. This is how
Mm.
I should have been a long time ago.
Right.
So yeah, it
Yeah.
is right. That's actually a good way of putting it, putting the right fuel into the body. I'm gonna start using
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I really like that, the way that people describe that.
Yeah, I'm gonna start nicking it.
Like simple but profound in a way. Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. So you mentioned in your bio you would like to be a mental health advocate.
Yes, I
Yeah.
would
So
eventually.
yeah, yeah. So tell me about your mental health.
Well, as I explained, I have several mental health issues. Like I have borderline personality disorder. I have
Mhm.
dissociative identity disorder, complex
Mhm.
post-traumatic stress disorder, as well as severe depression and anxiety. So there's a whole mixture of us in there.
That sounds like an interesting cocktail.
it's
Yeah.
it's fun at times.
Wow.
um, but yeah, with obviously that, I want to help people who have mental health problems because there is not enough help out there for people with mental health issues at all. They are
Mhm.
underpaid,
Mhm.
understaffed, and overworked,
Yeah. Yeah.
and there's not enough funding for mental health. And for me, I've noticed that being part of the LGBT plus community, mental health goes hand
Mhm.
in hand.
How do you see that showing up? How do you see the connection in that
Well,
yourself?
I used to volunteer for a youth group,
Mhm.
blah. You might have heard of it.
I haven't, no.
No, it's part of Norfolk LGBT plus project. It's
Okay.
just like one of their youth groups, and I used to help volunteer there. I was a young
Mhm.
person, then I ended up being a volunteer,
Mhm.
and you just see all these people with different mental health problems like come in who are like suicidal and stuff like that. So it is for me. That's why I see it like goes hand in hand,
Mm. Yeah.
especially with
Yeah.
the younger generation. For me,
Mhm.
anyway, because that's all I've ever dealt with is younger generation.
Yeah.
So yeah, you see them. It just goes hand in hand.
Yeah. What would you say is your main learning from doing that volunteering with people?
That everybody's journey is completely different.
Mm.
We may sit under the whole LGBT plus the rest of the letters because I forgot how many there is. There's a
Ever
few.
expanding? Yeah. Yeah.
um, everyone's journey is different.
Mhm.
So what you would say to one person, you might not be able to say to the next person. It's very much your own journey.
Mhm.
Because for one person, their parents might be supportive and you can be like, right, come out to them, and then someone else's parents could be really not supportive. So it is, yeah, very much your own journey. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you feel is missing besides obviously all the issues you just talked about? Like, what do you feel needs to happen in mental health support, especially for LGBT people?
We definitely need more funding, for sure.
Mm.
We definitely need more funding for that. I think more LGBT, like, mental health workers, so then they can understand what it's actually like to go through what a young person's going through, for instance, or
Mm.
to be a better, more educated. Because I've had to deal with a couple of mental health people who are not LGBT plus friendly,
Hmm.
so more understanding and more knowledgeable about it. Really, yeah,
Yeah, and I guess in general, I suppose from what you're saying, I'm thinking in general for people who work in mental health services to be more up to speed and just be
yeah,
more aware and knowledgeable about LGBT
yeah.
issues, I
That's a
suppose.
better
Yeah.
way to phrase it.
Well, not necessarily better, just sort of summarizing it for myself, really, as well. So, yeah. Are there any other connections that you've noticed between gender and mental health?
Again, I think that goes hand in hand because if you're
Mm,
not allowed to express who you are,
yeah.
that can be very detrimental to your mental health and it can make you really bad. Because I know
Hmm.
throughout my teenage years, I was really bad. Other than
Hmm.
personal stuff, which I won't go into, not being able to express myself, being who I am, was
Hmm.
very detrimental. Or like I would self harm because of it as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it does go hand in hand with mental health because, like I said, if you don't have the right support network,
Yeah.
you'll just slip between the cracks, which a lot of people do.
Yeah. So, looking back at your own journey, what would have been helpful for you to have as support that you didn't have at the time?
People being more understanding about it, because I still think to this day there's a lot of people who don't understand,
Hmm.
which is sad, really, because we're in 2021. It's not like it's a new thing. It's
Right.
been around for years,
Yeah.
but there is still people who don't understand or fully get it. So I think growing up, if I could go back to like 11-year-old me, I'd be like, look, people are not going to understand this. You're just going to have to accept that. But there is people who are going to support you and you are going to eventually be who you are on the inside.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of went off on a little spill then.
That's all right. That's perfectly fine. That sounds really comforting, actually, the way you put that.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's like what you would say to your younger self, you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of things
Yeah.
I would tell my younger self.
Yeah. What else would you tell your younger self?
Not to self harm,
Mm.
because it becomes an addiction and then you want to do it more and more and more. So don't do it. Don't fall into that trap.
Mm.
Luckily, I've been a year clean from self
Hmm.
harming, but it's
Okay.
still a trap.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You still have the urge to do it every now and again, but you fight
Mm.
through that urge. Like any
Hmm.
addiction, really. But yeah,
Yeah, that's fair. Sounds like good advice. Yeah. So, I know this past year has been a bit difficult for connections and stuff,
yeah.
but do you celebrate with others, in the LGBT community? Like, do you go to Pride?
I used to. I
Yeah.
used to actually wear my fursuit. Um,
Okay.
it was a black wolf with a rainbow mohawk. I was basically
Wow.
Bla's little advocate for we're normal, we're fine, look, we're fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, tell
um,
me more about that because it's furry. Is it a lifestyle or a kink or how is it classified?
technically, there's both.
Okay.
There is a kink side to furry, and then there's just a whole like cosplayer furry. I'm the cosplayer
Okay.
furry, and I don't
Okay.
kink shame anyone. Everyone's into what they're into.
Mm,
That's fine.
totally.
You
Yeah.
do you, as long as you're not hurting anyone
Yep.
and it's not illegal.
Absolutely.
Do what you want.
Hmm. Right.
Um, it's just fun to act like a different character.
Mm.
Like, my fursuit, my persona is called Loki. So
Right.
I get to be mischievous and, like, play up to people and, like, hide things and, like, just be a big kid, basically.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
there's a lot of LGBT plus furries.
Hmm.
There's actually quite a big community. I
Hmm.
don't interact with people because of mental health reasons, so I tend to, like, shy away.
Mm.
But there's fur meetings. Like, I know that happens in Norwich. There's one in London because my
Hmm.
cousin makes my fursuits for me.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So she would know a lot more than what I do.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just a fun way to be an animal as such.
Uh-huh.
Act like
Uh-huh.
how you would think you would act if you were that animal or creature, whatever you've come up
Hmm.
with.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun to
That
do.
sounds kind of therapeutic almost. Would you call it that?
Yeah, because you don't have to be you.
Mm.
You can hide behind a mask,
Mm-hmm.
and you can interact with people without them knowing or seeing your face.
Mm-hmm.
And you just get to act like a big kid. That's fun in itself. And so, yeah, it is very, very therapeutic because, like I said, you get to be a big kid. Who doesn't want to be a big kid every now and again?
Right. Totally. Yeah. So how do you find people interact with you when you're in character? You know?
Everybody wants a hug.
Oh, I
You,
love it.
I've had people run up to me and just randomly hug me, and I'm just like, oh, okay, hi.
Are you a hugger though?
Not in,
That's good to
not in
know.
my real life.
How interesting.
I
Yeah.
don't like hugging people in real life, but as soon as I'm
Uh-huh.
Loki, I'm in the role. I'm him. So I just go with the
Yeah.
hugs. I'll go with like photos, whatever they want to do, I'll do. Yes, it's fun. Like I said, there's
Yeah.
people out there who's going to know far more than what I do about it.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, that's fair. But I mean, this is your
yeah,
experience we're talking about. So being in character
yeah,
and almost, yeah, having different, well, changing personality almost. Because some people might argue, well, it's an escape, you know.
it is.
But
You get to be someone
yeah,
else. Well, with
yeah.
DID, you have different personalities anyway, so you never
Mm.
know who
Yeah,
you're going to
yeah.
get with me.
Yeah, that's interesting as well, actually. I was going to ask you how that shows up for you because I've had a conversation with Bonnie, episode
Yeah,
10, who also has a dissociative identity disorder. It's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it?
it is.
So how does that show up for you?
I have 5 personalities,
Right.
and I'm the main host as such. I'm the host, and
Mm-hmm.
then there's a few others in there who want to have the limelight, and I'm like, all right, fine. You have your 5 minutes,
Mm.
you have your 5 minutes, and now go back in the box. Just stay away for a little while.
Mm. So do you feel like you're in control of that and you choose to let those out, those
Sometimes,
personalities? Right.
sometimes I can't control it, and they're just like, boom, hi. Depends on how well my day's gone. If I've woken up in a foul mood, then no, I have no control over them.
Mm. Okay.
Yes, it's a bit of a weird one for me.
Are you conscious of the other personalities? Do you feel like like you've got memory loss or something after they're gone?
No, when they're here, I black out completely. I don't know what they do, say, or anything,
Wow.
which is quite disturbing sometimes when I come back round and I'm like in a different room and I'm like, how did I get here?
Wow. That sounds intense. Yeah.
It can be sometimes.
So you say you've got about 5 different personalities. So do you have a feel for who they are? Do you know them?
Yeah, I have names because we have conversations inside. Some of us, we have conversations because there's two who don't really speak.
Okay.
So we have Mark, we have Lucy, we have Silent Bob because
Yeah.
he's silent, so we don't know what to call him.
Fair enough.
Newbie, which again, we don't know what to call him. He hasn't given a name or she hasn't given a name. And then
Mhm.
we've got Riley, who's gender neutral.
Ah, interesting. So there is some gender diversity going on
Yeah,
in the characters as well.
definitely.
Yeah.
We're a right weird bunch, we are.
I guess it's not boring in your head.
It's very entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have they always been there? Or is that something that maybe certain characters appear at certain times in your life,
Um,
would you say?
I would definitely say they've come from trauma.
Okay.
They're
Yeah.
definitely trauma related for me.
Mm-hmm. Wow. It's fascinating, isn't it? Our mental, it's just such a mystery, really, isn't
It
it?
is.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there's no treatment for DID, so you just have to get on with it. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
that's what my therapist told me anyway.
Yeah, I think it's kind of, I almost think it's a good thing when doctors and of the body or mind actually say, we don't know what to do about this.
Yeah,
If it's the truth. Yeah.
yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to add that we haven't talked about yet?
I have a blog.
You have a blog, okay? What's it about?
I try to use it as a diary. I'm really bad at it. But it's just a way to get down your thoughts and feelings when they're all pent up.
Hmm.
Don't ask me what my link is because I cannot remember what it is.
It will be in the notes on the page, so that's fine. Yeah.
um, so yeah, that's really it. And just hope that the mental health side of things for LGBT plus people, to anyone really, gets
Hmm.
better in the future.
Yeah, for sure.
And I hope that COVID goes away soon as well because I miss people.
Yeah, totally. So you mentioned about your personality versus your character
Yeah,
personality. Would you call yourself maybe an introvert or?
that's one you don't like going out, isn't it? Well,
Well, yeah, that's an interesting one because I call myself an introvert. I like my alone time and I recharge
yeah,
on my own. Whereas extroverts, they get energy from being around other people. It energizes them.
yeah,
Whereas for me, I know I just need time away from people, to do that. And also what you just said about you're not very huggy or
mm-mm.
like generally and stuff, but you say you do miss people, so you have your own, I guess, your own balance, don't you? Like we all do, I
Yeah, I
suppose.
would say I'm 50-50, really.
Yeah.
Sometimes I love being with people, I love hanging
Yeah.
out with people, and other times I'm like, no, don't touch me, don't look at me, don't come near me.
Mm.
So it's
Yeah, that's
very
fair.
50-50, like again, depends on what mood I'm in, depends on how I
Hmm.
wake up. If I'm like, no, don't talk to me, it's a no, don't talk to me day.
Mm. Yeah.
I think everyone gets days like that though,
Oh, totally. Yeah.
where they don't
Yeah.
want to be like touched or just don't look at me, don't breathe.
Just don't.
Just, yeah, full
Yeah.
stop, don't.
Just don't. Yeah, absolutely. That was really interesting. Thank you for talking to me
No, that's
about all this.
fine.
You can find out more details on the website at 50shadesofgender.com/Charlie-Orriss, which is ORRISS, where you can also read the transcript. And you can find Charlie's blog on mylifewiththeupd.wordpress.com. Thank you for listening to the 50 Shades of Gender podcast. You can find us online at 50shadesofgender.com and on social media. If you'd like to support us, please consider becoming a patron on Patreon. Plans start from only $1 a month. Visit patreon.com/50 Shades of Gender for more details. We hope you will listen again. Until then, stay curious and open-minded.
Um,
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, this is your
yeah.
experience we're talking about, so yeah. Oh, okay. My doorbell's just ringing. Let me just check who that
That's
is. One
fine.
sec. It's my tea.
It's fine.
That was really interesting. And I love the sort of really mellowness of the conversation.
Yeah, I was actually
Yeah.
kind of shocked because normally I'm quite nervous, but this was fine.
Okay, yeah, you didn't seem nervous at all. No, you're just chatting,
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's
totally.
what I
Yeah,
like, where I can just have a conversation where I'm not under pressure or anything.
exactly. Yeah.
So this was a great experience.
Oh, good. I'm so glad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice.